Hello there. Today is the 26th day of June, an international day that has been set aside by the United Nations to increase awareness on the fight against drug abuse and illicit trafficking. But wait a second. What exactly is drug abuse and illicit trafficking? What are the effects on the human body? Who are those most prone to becoming victims of this activity that seems to be causing a great deal of harm when you talk about the health of individuals involved? Can this activity that seems to be raking in a lot of money for some cabals around the world be ever controlled? Good evening and thank you for joining us once again. My name is Dr. Ogidigbe Ogenekere and you're tuned into Lifeline on NTA 2. In case today is your first time ever of joining us on the show, Lifeline is a weekly health magazine program that promises to explore the most innovative solutions to global health challenges, especially as they affect you out there, our viewers. Before we get on with the brunt of the matter for the day, let's take a quick look at health news making headlines in other parts of the world.
Reported to have risen above 700 in the Sindh province of Pakistan, where Karachi is located, as a record-breaking heat wave sweeping across the region is causing people to lose their lives from severe dehydration and heat strokes. The brutal heat wave is said to have started last Friday, with temperatures reaching an extreme high of 44.8 degrees Celsius, and this is reported to be the highest recorded temperature in the country in the last 15 years. Though the Pakistani government is noted to have set up heat stroke relief centers with the help of paramilitary and military forces, inadequate water supply and prolonged power outages in the region is said to be worsening the situation. Resident doctors in some of the teaching hospitals across the country have embarked on warning industrial strike actions at one time or the other within the space of the past 4 weeks, with some of the residents said to be threatening that a total shutdown of the various health facilities may be the only way out if their demands are not met. While the demands have been noticed to vary from one teaching hospital to another, the common denominator seems to be the non-payment of financial entitlements for the residents and improvement of working conditions in a bid to make healthcare delivery standard across the nation.
What a pity the people in the Sindh province of Pakistan they're going through a lot at this period. The death toll as of today is actually over 1,000. And talking about the resident doctors, well, some activists in some quarters of the country have argued that is this exactly the right timing? But some doctors have said because the health of a nation is tantamount to the success of the nation in terms of stability, it is important to raise awareness or to try to get the attention of the government this early so that things can be gotten right in the area of health. I'm talking about getting things right in the area of health. Today, like I said earlier, we'll be looking at drug abuse and illicit trafficking. Indeed, today is the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. And joining me in the studio to discuss this all-important issue that is affecting a lot of youth especially is a very good friend of mine, someone who has the know-about, has had to deal with a couple of individuals internationally when you talk about drug abuse. And then even back here during his youth service days, he was also involved in trying to rehabilitate people at one stage or the other. Dr. Debo Odulana, thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Debo, today is the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. Now, a lot of people think that drug abuse is when a young chap steps to the corner to that bad boy on the side of the street and picks up Indian hemp or some other hard drug as people know it. But you and I know that drug abuse goes way more than that. We know that some people say, oh, I don't take Indian hemp, I don't take heroin, but every slight headache, they'll pop 2 tablets of paracetamol. Sometimes I've even heard of people who pop up to 20 tablets in a day. And so I want you to just throw some perspective on this issue of drug abuse.
Okay. I will first start that by saying the first step is knowing the fact that what you stated earlier about the marijuana use and getting hemp from the streets, that is illicit drug use. Now, when we talk about drug abuse encompasses everything that has to do with using drugs in the way they were not supposed to be used. So, using drugs before without the prescription of the doctor is abusing the drugs, because drugs were made so that doctors prescribed for patients.
Okay.
You understand? So, that being said, when we take drugs or we buy drugs over the counter, just walk down to the pharmacy or the chemist store and just buy the drugs we feel we need, and we take them without any particular prescription, so there's no doctor that has checked and said, these are the drugs you're supposed to take, this is when you're supposed to take it, and this is when you shouldn't take it. You don't even know an idea of the side effects and all those kind of things. So drug abuse encompasses everything that has to do with the wrong usage of any drug.
So Dr. Debo Odulana has told us that drug abuse encompasses everything that has to do with the wrong usage of any drug. That means using any drug that has not been prescribed for you, or that the doctor has not said you can go ahead to use this drug. But let's see what people out there on the streets had to say about drug abuse and illicit trafficking.
Drug abuse has been described as the recurrent use of illegal drugs or the misuse of prescription or over-the-counter drugs with negative consequences. The problem of drug abuse is as old as man and has had more negative effects on mankind. In Nigeria, however, the challenges of drugs is worrisome due to cultivation and trafficking of these drugs. Therefore, as the world marks International Day for Drug Abuse and Trafficking, it is important to hear people's opinion on the subject matter.
When people use drugs in the wrong way, and when people use drugs and maybe self-medication, and then some people even go as long as producing their own drugs, maybe using their own maybe knowledge to produce drug in the wrong way and then give to people, they take it anyhow. That's drug abuse. The government need to put measures to make sure that people don't do that. For example, the NAFDAC is already in Nigeria, and they should make sure that NAFDAC will use some strategies to track down those, because sometimes it's that the issue of bribery and corruption has spoiled a lot of things. Some of these people, we know them, but the issue of tracking them down is something that is not done very well, because some people will be bribed, or because there are people who are known in the society and nothing will be done about it. So there should be a penalty for anybody who is involved in drug abuse, and then when other people will see it, they will learn their lessons.
If you are doing something that is wrong, that is not good for your health, it's an abuse. Alcohol, to some extent, is an abuse. Then to stop drug abuse, I think it all depends on individuals. What you are doing that is it's not good to your health, and people are campaigning that you should stop it. I think the best thing is to stop it. And the only way we can stop it is by educating ourselves, educating the society. Majority of our youth are indulging in all these things. But I think basically the government is doing their best, and we are the ones that have to talk to ourselves. And generally, to my own observation, I think it is not even good to indulge in drugs unnecessarily.
I think when you rely so much on drugs to control your life, because it helps you to maybe think better or to do things in a way that you want to do them, but too much of that, it's very harmful to your health. And I think the government has a lot to do to help young people to stay off drugs, and the way the government can help to do that is to create more jobs and opportunities for young people, get them engaged in things to do. I know people that have struggled with drug abuse, mostly from poor backgrounds, and people on the street who have nothing to do. They rely on drugs entirely, to help them feel better or to push them to do things usually in a way that it's not supposed to be. But I mean, for them, that becomes like a hobby for them or a life for them. Yeah.
If you want to stop a drug, you have to start from the home. No, there's no parent that doesn't know that his or her child is taking a drug. You have to, from the birth, you give your child a foundation. My son, my daughter, this thing is not good. It's dangerous to health, it's dangerous to the community, and it will bring a bad name to the family. The parents, first of all, to have to start it first before the government. Government is the parents is the government. So it is the left for the parents to stop it from the childhood, giving their children a good foundation. So when they grow, they will know that this is not good. So, look at it. Someone like me, when I was a youth, I take cigarettes, I take Igbo, which is not. But the time came, I was trying to talk to my senior brother. My senior was saying, "Get away from my side. Look at how the way you are smelling." I enter inside, I whip. I know that it's not good. Then I have to pray, ask God, please remove this thing from me, and God stop it automatically from me. So since then, my life has become a new thing.
I think the government should create jobs for young people, and parents should watch out their children, watch the kind of people they follow, make sure that that your partner, that child that you're partnering with, has a connection to your dream, has a kind of way that leads to your dream. Or else, if that child that that friend that your child is following is not of good morals, it could lead your child astray. So parents have to watch their children, who their children follow, watch the places they go, watch what they do.
To me, today, I give glory to God, because I was inside marijuana. Those days when Fela was alive, I drank ogogoro, I smoke cigarettes, and if you look at it, they always write it there that it's dangerous to health. But people that are smoking it, they don't look into that way. But when I was into the world, I found out that thing kept me for 3 months in one particular place. Drugs is not the best. But one thing I believe is that when God arrests you and your mind, or you went to the hospital, doctor tell you that this thing, don't do it, and you continue to do it, at the end of the day, you see the results. Why me, I can able to, hold myself was that when I went to the hospital, they told me that I should stop smoking. They gave me treatment, injection, and all those things. I was okay. For a while, I started again. But one day, I was inside the church when the man of God was preaching about all those things. Then I look at my head and the way I was living, I stopped it. But today, I'm healthy, I'm okay, because by then I was very slim. To me, I tell people that it's not good to take all those drugs. You understand? So it's not the best. Federal government need to go into it and stop those companies not to produce it, because the more they produce the thing, people will still have opportunity to have it to smoke. That is what I suggest. If government can stop it, even go, they can ban it. If really that government say now, you go to bus stop, you see anybody say, or they are not see that if we catch anybody that say so thing, is going to end himself in so jail in so years. I think that one will create a fear into their hearts so that they won't do it. Less for the government to do it, they want to do it.
That was what some important Nigerians out there in the general public think about drug abuse and illicit trafficking. Now, Dr. Odulana, you and I have heard what fellow Nigerians are saying about drug abuse. Apparently, they've tried to mention some of the effects. Some of them even gave their own personal encounters. Now, because this program is all about the viewers out there, we need to break it down. Before we come to the medical effects, what drug abuse can do to the body, what exactly are some of the reasons why people abuse these drugs?
Like some of these gentlemen have said, one of the major reasons, as isolated in every scenario, is that when people don't have anything to do, they turn to drugs.
Okay.
See, like I said, the unemployment rate is high. People are a bit frustrated, and in the bid to search for alternative routes of getting elation, they turn to drugs.
They want to be happy.
They want to be happy.
Yeah.
Everybody deserves to be happy.
They want something that can occupy them, isn't it?
They need something to occupy that free time they have. Yes.
But we rightly mentioned that drug abuse is not just smoking of marijuana and all of that.
Illicit
now,
drugs.
those are that's a particular category of drugs that can be abused. Because you talk about the youths that do not have anything to do. But you and I also know that there are other drugs, like we said, over-the-counter drugs. People want to take drugs to lose weight. People feel they are depressed. The doctor might have prescribed a particular drug for them, and then the symptom comes up again, and they say, oh, this was what the doctor gave me the other time. I might as well step out to the pharmacy to buy this drug. Some people also take drugs to stay awake. Students, especially students. I'm aware of people who had drank so much coffee when it was even the time for the exam. They've lost so much sleep, they could not function and even write their exam. They had to, it was kind of bad that they lost a year. You understand? So there are different reasons why people abuse drugs. But talking about some of the clinical effects, before we go to other issues in terms of illicit trafficking and all of that, what are some of the clinical effects if we should look at it? You can start from the illicit drugs and over-the-counter drugs.
Well, about the effects, like
let's
we
talk
said,
about illicit drugs.
Like
we know that these things
said,
make you happy first.
Yes, great,
and then
exactly.
after that,
elation. That's the reason why a lot of people go for this drugs. You understand? It makes them happy. Change of mood modulation. You understand?
Yes. After that, what happens? You are someone. In fact, what was your experience whilst you were in the UAE, even before you came back?
Well, the UAE has a very good barrier mechanisms to prevent the drugs from coming in.
But Nigerians were still involved in drug abuse.
However, yes, that happens, because I don't know how it happens. People always find a way to get these things.
Did you see anybody that was kind of going over the board?
Well, at the time, there were a couple of people that even had to get checked into the psychiatric facilities for rehabilitation. And we saw drugs like even codeine being abused, being drunk in large amounts to get that morphine-like effect.
Codeine, that's the supposed cough syrup, isn't it?
Codeine that you can get from the benylene in the cough syrup.
So people now drink codeine like red wine.
They drink the cough syrups, and they drink a lot of it. You see someone drinking 2 bottles just to get that effect, because they found out that codeine works like morphine if it's in high concentration. You understand?
Now, what is the bad thing about drinking codeine and other cough syrups in this large quantity?
So first, the actual ingredient in the cough syrup has its effects. You understand? You are first taking an overdose of the cough syrup because you're trying to achieve a good enough concentration of the codeine. So let's talk about the cough syrup now. So that is increased burden on your liver, which has to clear out these drugs from the body. Increased burden on the kidney, which also has to clear out the drugs from the body. And general effects of the drugs on the respiratory system where it's supposed to act. So you are now suppressing your body's cough mechanisms. Do you understand? That can predispose you to anything.
Because the cough reflex is supposed to be like a normal reflex, a protective mechanism. Sometimes if a particle gets into your throat, you have to be able to cough to choke it out. So by the time you take too much dose of codeine or other cough syrups, you're damaging your own body. And like Dr. Odulana has said, viewers out there, the liver has to try and synthesize these medications, and then it is the kidney that has to remove the end product of the medications out of the body as waste. Now, these 2 organs, the liver and the kidney, they are very important organs. And the last thing you do not want to do is come down with liver failure or kidney failure. Now, Dr. Odulana, still talking about the effects. A lot of people believe that marijuana smokers are prone to psychosis. That is, they can become crazy. They can go gaggers. And you mentioned that back in the UAE, you had actually come across some Nigerians or even Arabians who had to be checked into the psychiatric hospital.
Yes. I wouldn't say it's a misconception that people have tied marijuana with psychosis. But I must just make some things clear. Psychosis really is an innate thing. It's some people are prone to it.
Okay.
About 2% of the population, let's say the whole world's population, but say have genes that would make them prone to developing psychosis.
So they can become crazy.
Yes,
to
yes.
Speak it in the common
yes,
man
they can
language.
become crazy. So one thing marijuana does is it actually brings you closer to that. So
Okay.
if someone is already predisposed, then the person takes marijuana, that person has increased his risk. So it can actually get exposed to the whole psychosis spectrum
Yeah.
by actually taking that.
By
And it has
predisposed, what
effects.
do you mean?
By
If someone is
predisposed,
predisposed, yeah.
that's I'm talking about the genetic. I previously said.
Probably they had it
yeah.
sometime somewhere in their family.
No, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the family, their genes actually just waiting for the environment, which is the marijuana smoking, the exposure, maybe some severe life situations that
Yeah.
will tip them over. You understand?
Okay.
Like I said, 2% of the population already have the chance to become crazy.
Yeah. Okay, let's come back to Nigeria. We know that the malaria burden
Yes.
is very high in the country, and the Rollback Malaria Partnership has been trying to do a lot.
Yeah.
But I've had the experience where we notice that people now abuse malaria drugs.
Yes.
They abuse malaria drugs. We had a little girl come in, and apparently her kidneys were failing. And then we took every history we could get. Nothing was coming out, only to find out that, oh, the parents felt that she had malaria, and they stepped out to an over-the-counter chemist shop on their streets, and then gave the child some malaria drugs. And then the child couldn't make urine anymore. Everywhere was swelling in the child's body. What do you have to say when it comes to malaria drugs, the abuse of malaria medication?
Well,
is it right?
Yeah, it's completely wrong to start with, but I must say, the first thing is a lot of people assume all fevers are caused by malaria.
Talking about fevers now.
Yes, which is wrong. I think
That's
is
increase in body
I think
temperature.
that is the root cause. So every time someone is running the temperature, it doesn't mean the person has malaria. There are many causes of elevated blood pressures. That's when temperatures. I mean
body temperature.
So when the body temperature is higher than 37.2, it's not just malaria. You understand? A lot of people actually just feel, oh, I'm warm, I might have malaria.
So
I'm not feeling. I'm feeling a bit tired. I might have malaria. My tongue tastes has been lost. I taste a bit bitter with every time I eat some food. I might have malaria, and each time they take medication for this, which is wrong. For you to actually take medication for malaria, tests must actually demonstrate, or a doctor should use his clinical judgment and say beyond doubt that this is
most
malaria.
likely malaria.
You understand? So it is wrong to just go and procure malaria medication and take it. It is wrong.
How about people who want to lose weight?
Oh, that
Yes.
one is quite it's quite ludicrous,
People
because
who want to lose weight.
everybody wants to look for the easy way out, and they believe there's a medication for that.
That can make them
That can
not
not just
eat.
make
the
them
medication
eat.
will make them not hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, it's both sides of the spectrum.
Yes.
Just recently, I had a young lady tell me, "Oh, doctor, I want to add weight. What medication can I take?"
Yes.
Yes.
I get that a lot. I get
And
that
this
a
has
lot.
led to a
we
lot of
we
abuse.
even have those people that let's now talk about drug abuse. About people that use steroids in the gym.
Okay.
Those are drugs as well.
Very
You
important.
understand?
Yeah.
So those are people trying to gain weight, and because of that, they're taking some rather serious routes to doing these things.
Yeah, so there are, like you can see on the screen there are different categories of drugs that can be abused. There is the prescription drugs that can be abused. Now, these are drugs that are supposed to be used to treat a condition actually. But like I said earlier, the person feels, oh, this was what the doctor gave me last time, so I might as well take it. And they take it over and over again. Now, there is marijuana that has been stated out there. Let's talk about marijuana a bit. We know that in the United States, in California and 2 other states, there's this concept of medical marijuana. And that has been some topic of controversy in the United States. Here in Nigeria, marijuana is actually illegal.
Yes, it is
illegal.
illegal.
But what about marijuana Why do you think that some states are trying to say let's make it legal, and some states, including Nigeria as a country, is saying marijuana is not good for your health?
Well, to be honest, marijuana is not good for your health. However, it's one of the drugs that people easily tolerate because of the social imagery that has been associated with it.
Okay, Dr. Debo
Yes.
Odulana, marijuana is not good for the health, but it's one of the drugs that people usually tolerate. Quickly before we round up, our time is fast spent. Talking about trafficking, now we know that the NAFDAC here in Nigeria and NDLEA has been doing a lot to try to control illicit trafficking. Do you think that this illicit trafficking of medications can be controlled at all? Before we round up, just a quick one.
It can be controlled, but it's a difficult task.
Okay.
And it would require everybody to play a role, including people that actually are giving them a market for this.
So, viewers and friends out there, I hope you've been able to pick one or two things from this episode of the show. Drug abuse is not good by any means. If you must take any medications, ensure to get to the hospital where you can be given appropriate prescription. Now, for those who tend to be abusing drugs, try and get into rehabilitation or do something. Until next time, next week when we come your way again, thank you for joining us.